Pictures float by, including 2 girls in a tree, a bride, a boy holding a sparkler, a man, a woman, and a dog, a woman standing near the ocean, 2 girls at a playground, a woman kissing a baby, and a girl watering flowers. The hosts are standing together. Scrapbook memories. They're sitting at a table.
Thank you for joining us again on Scrapbook Memories. I'm Julie McGuffey, and joining you each week as your hosts are Michelle Brandt of Memory Makers Magazine and Beth Madland. You know, we all approach scrapbooking a little bit differently, so we'll be sharing with you our own particular style of scrapbooking.
You know, each week we're going to begin each show with a topic important to all scrapbookers, something we can all relate to, whatever your style.
Well, and though each of us develops our own personal style, one of today's trends is simplicity.
Yes.
So we have so much to do in so little time.
To do it in.
Yes.
Well, y'all remember KISS, right? Keep it short and sweet. Well, we keep it simple and stress-free.
Yes.
That's the main thing. Now, I have a beautiful photograph, and I really want to look at this photograph on the scrapbook page. So what I did it a very easy way. I took it to the photo kiosk. I enlarged it. I added a border. There's a name on there. There's the year. So there's my journaling. Then, to get the old-fashioned look, I actually trimmed it with some decal edge scissors.
Very pretty.
And I put it on my background paper. And there I have a simple scrapbook page. You know, I could also frame it.
You could.
I could.
Yeah.
And then, again, this is another very simple scrapbook page. The photographs, they're just matted, and then with a little bit of embellishment.
Very
so
nice.
you can make it as complicated or as simple as you like. But, you know, I found out the simpler it is, the more you can do.
That's for sure. Well, you know, I teach scrapbooking classes, and a lot of times we teach beginners. We use these pictures. I'm going to show you pictures 3 different ways. And this is very simple, just a strip of paper here, punched out these letters, and I journaled with my own handwriting. Now, if you want to add a few embellishments, you just kind of maybe add some plaid paper, mat all the photos, and maybe add some embellishments with yarn. I also matted that first letter to make it a little different.
Hey, that's nice.
That's very fun.
And then the third way, this is same photos again. You know, I went all the way to typing this in with a vellum. I used some snap buttons there, and I also matted each one of the letters.
That's how you can build from your time.
Right,
Why kind of went the
so
opposite
cool.
way? You know, sometimes you see a really complicated page in an idea book, and you think, I don't have time for that, and I can't do that. So here is a very detailed page, has, you know, lifted cuts, embellishments all over the place, but you can just take the simple elements from it. So for example, here we can set this one over here, and I can show you 3 different ways where you can just pull the title and cut out a tree, or you can take the title and just use a sticker for a tree. And so you can take the same elements but simplify it to what your needs are and your time.
Good job, Michelle. Those look really great. A good example for sure.
Great ideas.
Well, let's continue to keep it simple by giving you a hint of what's coming up on today's show. First up, Michelle and Julie give us a very simple idea. They're going to make some mini albums. And next, we introduce a new weekly segment with Barbara Kutzis, our computer expert. She'll have scrapbooking tips using your computer. Today, we'll pick the right paper.
One of our featured guests today is Lori Piper with some wonderful coordinated floral designs. Then it's off to Memories Expo in Orlando, Florida for a visit with Sandra Joseph.
Next, Beth and I have a great project right out of the pages of a book. And lastly, Michelle and I are going to show you how to color a black and white page with chalk.
So let's get started with our first scrapbook project. And remember, keep it simple and let your pictures really stand out. Michelle and Julie will be right back with mini albums, and I'll see you a little later in the show.
Julie blows a kiss. Michelle and Julie are in the studio.
You know, I can't wait for you to see all these wonderful mini albums that Michelle from Memory Makers has brought with her today. You have such creative readers, it's unbelievable.
You know, it constantly amazes me how our readers kept coming up with so many different ways to scrapbook. And one of those is mini albums, and I have a lot to show you. To start with, you don't always have to think of the square when you think of a mini album. You know, you usually think of the typical album of your big size, but in a smaller version. You can use a stack of die cuts to create your own mini album in a particular shape that works with your theme, whether it's baby, birthday, or just fun, casual pictures.
Well, those are really fun. Those would be a great gift, wouldn't they?
It would be a perfect gift. Now, you can get some help in making your mini albums as well. And there's templates available that you can make the outside binding and then your inside page to fit in the binding so that you have that template, you know, to follow.
There's a pattern, right?
Yeah, there's
Makes
a pattern.
It easier.
And I love this idea. This is if you go to Disney and you get an autograph book and you put the photograph, and it's great for meeting, and you go up and just say, please autograph this.
Right, and it's all in one place, so you never lose it.
It's a wonderful little keepsake. But you can see, too, they come from really small to, though they're not really big, they're still mini, but all different sizes.
All different sizes. And I love the one with the fish.
Isn't that
so
cute?
Sweet.
You can have fun with your covers and all different papers. Another way that you can do is with a stamp instead of a template is a great way to help. And with this particular stamp, here's your outside, and then here's your inside.
Because they are different sizes,
yes,
right? Our
to do
pages
your outside
inside are always smaller.
Exactly. And so you can use this as a guide. And again, we've created embellishments on the front, all different ribbons. You can see the little balloons. You can even use a clasp to close the album and hold it tight,
or
which is really
ribbon,
fun.
like on the other samples
Exactly.
that you have.
Now here's some fun ones. These are accordion type. And so for this particular one, here's a really sweet one that you could set on someone's desk as a gift. Isn't that nice?
That is really nice.
And here's another fun one. This is just a friendship album with quotes that you could give as a gift. All your favorite quotes to someone.
I like the way you have places to journal here, and then you've got the names on the other side.
And then here's a really big one. This was a special card I gave my husband. His birthday happened to fall on September 9th, 1999. So it was 9/9/99. And I thought that deserves something special as a card that year. So I did that.
Oh, when he's 99, won't that be cool?
Well, let's hope we make it that far. Now here are some really fun spiral-bound different size small albums. This one uses the same photo in many different ways. And I just love the creativity in this book. So she's taking the same picture throughout the entire book.
It's amazing how creative people can be when you give them no rules, just unlimited things to work with.
This one's really fun too, using your spiral bound. You can gradate so the pages get larger as we go along.
It's kind of like a children's storybook type thing.
It makes it really fun.
Well, what are these here? These are
now
fascinating.
these are really special. This you can get a lot of pictures on. Let me open one all the way up. These are really special albums. Look at this. You can journal. You can also work on the other side. You can use all kinds of fun embellishments. You can get the whole story. It's a great gift, a great way to capture a single event. Right. You have a lot of photos. And
you can make your own, or you can actually buy a finished one to put all your photos and embellishments on.
But we can go even smaller.
Look at these.
And think of jewelry. I wear this one on my necklace as a necklace, and this is my 3 kids. And I just have a, so somebody says, oh, do you have pictures of your kids? I'm like, yes, they're right here.
That is so sweet, because I did one for a kindergartner, had the kindergartner's picture, the name, their phone number. They got to wear a necklace, but then everybody knew who they were.
That's perfect. And one other I want to show you is this page right here, where you can really incorporate these onto your pages.
These are so fantastic, but you know what? Who's coming up next?
Well, let's check out Barbara Katzos is up next with our new computer segment. She'll be exploring ways to use the PC to make scrapbooking easier. Scrapbookers love to have a stash of photos and different types of papers, but when it comes to printing your photos at home, just how important is that choice of paper? Well, here's Barbara to give us some tips on choosing paper for printing digital photos.
Julie and Michelle admire the different mini scrapbooks. Barbara's standing near a laptop computer.
Hi. Sometimes all we want to do is buy a simple pack of photo paper. So we go into a computer store and see this enormous wall of different choices of photo paper. It can be a little overwhelming. Well, let me help you figure out which features you need to look for and compare across all the different brands in order to know which paper to buy. The number one important thing to look for is the coating. Do you want it to be matte paper or glossy paper? I like to use glossy. The next most important thing is the thickness of the paper. Sometimes a thin paper is fine if you're printing out just a sheet of index prints, but if you want something that's going to be good enough for your album, you want a good thickness in your paper, so compare the thickness across the different brands too. Opacity refers to how thick is the paper. When you hold it up, can you see from the front to the back? It's whether or not it's see-through. You don't want it to show through. And lastly, brightness tells you how white is the paper. Once you've made your selection and you've brought it home, you put it into your printer, one sheet at a time. And next what you need to do is tell your computer what type of paper you're about to print on. That's really critical. Every brand of paper will ask you what is the name of the paper you're printing on. So you scroll down the list of options and pick the paper that you're about to print on. The difference in what paper you print on between plain paper or premium photo paper can make all the difference in the world between a print that looks like this or a print that looks like this. Your scrapbook is worth it. I'm Barbara Katzos. We'll see you next time.
Beth is in the studio with a brown-haired woman.
You know, I never realized just how many different types of computer paper there were. In fact, There are so many types of paper in general. And with me is Lori Pieper. She's from See-Through with a wonderful collection of floral papers. I love it. We're talking about simplicity today.
Absolutely.
And we want to keep it simple.
Yes.
And you've brought along a page and some papers that all coordinate the stickers, the vellum, and the paper.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
With a very sophisticated approach to scrapbooking.
Sure. Let's see how you put together this page, which is beautiful.
Okay, I'm going to just give you very simple steps. And so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to take these border strips that are very coordinated and match perfectly together, and I'm simply going to lay down a plaid and a floral. Then the fun thing about this particular page is when people are working with vellums, underlayering is a really fun technique to do.
A lot of times we put things on top, but this is under.
Yes, and this is all about layering. And so yes, layering underneath is such a fun way to work. So I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock and cut it about 1 inch larger than I want my mat to be. And I'm simply going to go here along and tear off about 1/2 inch all the way around.
We love to tear. It's so
we
simple.
do love to tear. And after I've done that, I'm going to take that white piece, which is going to be my second mat, and I'm going to center it about 2 inches from the top of the page. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take any one of these great vellums here, and I'm going to mount my photograph. I've trimmed it from the 12 by 12 size, and I'm going to mount my photograph right where I want it.
What that does, that white paper behind really highlights the vellum.
It does. It really brings out all the subtleties of the pattern. Then, so that a lot of people have concerns about how am I going to hide the adhesive. And so what you're going to do is you're going to turn your page over here, your vellum, and I'm going to put my adhesive here underneath the photograph. So when I turn it over, no one's ever going to see, no one's ever going to see that adhesive.
Okay.
And
it
so
hides
it's all
it very well.
hidden.
It hides it very well.
Then we mentioned that this is a very sophisticated approach to scrapbooking. And so the next step that I'm going to do is these are floral sprays. And I'm going to simply put it on a white piece of cardstock to give it a little bit more stability. And I'm going to trim just along the white edge here.
And leave a little bit of a border, right?
Leave a little bit of a border, you're right. And then after I've done that, I'm going to just take some foam squares and put them on the back of my little cutout here. It's a beautiful elongated shape. And I'm going to then just overlap this like so. And I've already, in a very simple way, added a bit of sophistication to this page. And then all I simply have to do is, the last thing I have to do here is take some more borders, and I'm going to add another beautiful line in good composition. And if you'd like to tear that off for me, that'd be nice. Your eyes love great lines, and so I'm going to put a line like so, and I already have the journaling frame, and I'm going to mount it just like this.
Oh, wow.
And I've got a very, very simple page.
We did that in less than 3 minutes, it seems like.
Yes, it does go so fast. And here's another example where on this one I have the contrasting paper is a white, but look under here, this is a deeper contrasting paper, and it again just shows the subtleties of your vellum.
But it still highlights the photo.
Absolutely, and the
subtle way.
focus can really stay on the photograph.
Let's
and
show
look
your
at
last
this.
one here.
The other fun thing is look at how versatile. We've got kids' pictures. What about this sweet prom picture?
In black and white, too.
In black and white, absolutely. And so you've got your underlayer right here. You've got great lines right here with your borders, a simple little square photo corners. How simple.
Lori, thank you so much for keeping it so simple.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. Well, it's time to visit the Memories Expo in Orlando, Florida. Let's check in with Julie and Sandra.
In Orlando, Julie and Sandra are standing with a woman next to a board.
Well, thanks for joining us. We're here at the Memories Expo Scrapbook Show in Orlando, Florida. And joining us right now is Sandra Joseph, and Sandra is the Director of Memories Community.
Welcome back, Julie. As you can tell, I've been so busy at the show, I've lost my voice.
We noticed you've been a very busy lady.
It has been busy. We're so pleased to have Antoinette Wheeler with us. She's the Regional Director for Memories Community, but she also teaches a great workshop.
And I know that classes are very, very important.
Yes,
to all our scrapbook shows.
I did a fantastic class this morning about shaker boxes, and shaker boxes is a great way that you can add things to your scrapbook and keep them safe. And one of the classes I taught was a shaker tag class. And the way that you create a shaker tag is that you take your frame and you attach a cut-up page protector so that you can hold your filler ingredients in there. Then you take some fun foam, some kind of fun foam, and you put that around. You put some beads or glitter or confetti in there and attach a background. And you have a nice shaker tag that you can use for gift giving, or you can put in your scrapbooks.
Right. Now I noticed that the beads, you have actually stuck those down because this is a sample.
Right.
But in a real shaker tag, they'd be loose so that when you shake it, we'll look at this one right here so the viewers can see. When you shake it, they do
moves
actually move
around.
around.
Right.
So this is a great way to protect things and to save things that are not acid-free.
Right. It's a great way to encase things that aren't acid-free, so you can put your movie tickets and fun things like that in your scrapbook.
Right. And it's not exactly a box.
That's
No,
right.
it's not a box.
Look at all of her samples. Here she has seashells. Here she has an old postcard as her background. We have balloons on this one. And this is probably her favorite, her little boys with some snow glitter in it.
Made a snow globe, and then you put the glitter inside to
Right.
shake it all around. Antoinette, this really is a great technique. Thank you so much for taking time to share it with our viewers.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us. Now, stay tuned because we'll be right back and we'll see you at the studio.
Beth and Julie are standing at the counter in the studio.
You know, one of the best places to get ideas for your scrapbooking is an actual scrapbook. Now, these books are filled with project ideas. Today's project is on one of today's hottest trends, eyelets. Julie?
You know what? There's lots of things we can do with eyelets, but I have to show you this little page. It is so cute. I'm going to hold it up here because this is not just a bear. This is not just any old bear. This is a dancing bear.
It's saying hello.
Isn't he cute?
Very cute.
So we thought we would look at the instructions and we'd show everybody how to make this cute little bear.
Very easy. In fact, the instructions, you just open it up, first page. They actually have some patterns that you can copy onto another piece of paper, cut out yourself.
Right?
Or you could use a circle punch, a big heart punch, cut the heart in half, and you have 2 arms.
Right.
Who knew?
Makes it great.
Now,
and easy.
Yeah, very easy. Next, the eyelets, and we're going to show you how to set an eyelet. Basically, we're just going to attach the eyelet to the arm here, put it down, and you could use an anywhere punch, but because this is so close to the edge, we're just going to use a hand punch.
Right.
Okay. So we've already punched those out. Now we'll just do the setter.
Okay. Now, it's also very important that when you're copying a pattern that we mark where the eyelet hole is going to be, right?
Very good point.
Especially if we're going to do a dancing bear.
Yeah, I
Otherwise,
almost forgot
may
that.
fall over.
That's right. And you do need 2 punches on these arms. So I'll just do a couple taps here. Yep, there you go. And sometimes I just do a little back tap there. See, there you go.
All right. It's that easy.
Right.
Now then, once we've got the arms attached to the body, our arms need to go up, but then they need to come down again.
Right.
So what we did to make them do that, we actually glued some pennies.
And
Made little penny weights on the bottom of the arms.
one other thing, you don't mash this down because you want this to be able to move still.
Right, that's true. That movement is very, very important. Now then, after we've done this part, we're going to make them move by adding some floss. Now, to make it easy to thread, I'm actually using a tapestry needle, and we will just pull it down here and pull it up through the other hole. There we go. And we already have one finished here, and it's when you pull on the thread that actually, turn this up so we can see, it's actually when we pull on the thread that gives us this action. I think that is so cool.
It is really cute.
It's really neat. But you know what? We're not just stopping with a bear because we have some other samples that move too.
Right.
Let's bring these in to show everybody. Look at these little guys here.
Can I move it?
You can move it. Okay,
Okay.
you go ahead. I moved it last time.
I mean, how fun is that?
That is so sweet. And there's just lots and lots of ideas. And we just find them all in how-to books, right?
Yeah, the Scarecrow's doing the splits.
Yes, well, I think we have to go.
I think we do too.
Okay.
So now we know how to do eyelids. And Michelle and Julie will be right back with a new use for chalk.
Beth and Julie look at the scarecrow's legs. Later, Michelle and Julie are in the studio.
Julie and I both love to use chalk on our pages. Crafty sent us this wonderful project.
You know, Michelle, I had this old photograph and wanted to make a scrapbook page, and so I got my colored paper out and punches and made this page, and I got to looking at it, and it just wasn't quite as delicate as I wanted it to be. And of course, you know, I'd enhanced it with chalk. So what I did, I made another page, and I used only white paper for the punch shapes and white vellum for the stripes on the page, and I thought it gave it such a Just a more delicate look, a more sensitive, you know, to go along with the black and white and the heritage feel of the picture.
It is. It's so much softer.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
Yes, I can see the difference.
Of course, the first thing I did go to the picture kiosk and I made copies of my photograph because, as you know, we don't like to use originals when they're old photographs.
Good idea.
So now, on the vellum, the first thing I did to make the stripes on the page, I actually used the paper trimmer, and I'm using that as a guide to tear the vellum. Now, this is a little bit wider, but I want you to see the effect that the chalk has on it. Put a little bit of chalk on the applicator, then just get the excess off on the side of my palette here, and I'm holding it, and then just chalking right along there. And then you can take off the extra, and if I can just hold that for just a second, you can see what a pretty effect that
beautiful.
has. Isn't that neat?
It almost looks like watercolor.
Right. Now, on the punch shapes, again, I used white paper. And these are smaller shapes, and you know sometimes we have a little bit of a challenge keeping them in place. Well, I actually put them on this adhesive strip, and then I'm going to chalk them while they're still on the strip. Now, I'm using a little pixie applicator here and just chalking all around the flower centers first. And again, you can use your finger or a tissue just to take off that excess. And then don't worry about the excess that's on the backing, because when you take the shape off, then that will stay right on the backing, so it's not a problem.
So you can pretty much make that as dark or light as you'd
exactly.
like.
Now let's start on the flowers. And on the flowers, again, we'll take off the excess chalk, and I'll start in the center and just kind of go in a swirly motion, and then turn the applicator over, and then kind of spread it out from the center to the petals. And it's a lot easier to start with a little bit of color, because you can always add to it, than to start with a lot of color. Now, if you did do something wrong, you do have an eraser, especially for chalk, and you can take it right off.
And can you blend your colors too?
You can blend colors too. Oh, it's just a wonderful, wonderful product to work with. Now, I'll take the center off. I actually tore it there, but because it's got adhesive on the back, it doesn't matter. We'll stick the first thing, or the first part down first, and then we'll just match it up with the second part and pop that in the center, and there we would have our flower. I'll put it right next to the vellum.
That is
probably
beautiful.
could have added a little bit more color, like I say, you know, just whatever anybody wants to do.
So you could use
fine.
templated shapes or punch
Oh,
shapes
just
or
anything at all. Now, the other thing that I did, it's a black and white photograph, and I thought I'd add a little tint of color to the photograph. So I took the chalk again, took off the excess on the side, and I just gently stroked it right on the dress.
That is so easy.
Isn't that easy? And then, with it being a photograph, I'm going to turn my back to you for just a second, because I'm going to blow off the excess. There we go. Now, on your paper, what you would want to do is maybe put another piece of paper on top and just kind of rub it, just to make sure that that chalk sets into the little pieces that you've just chalked, so it doesn't come off on your opposite page. Of course, we use protectors, so that's really not a problem anyway.
Let's take one more look at the final project. You can see all the different shapes. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, and even the mat around the photograph, that was colored vellum too, so it's all done with chalk. There's a couple of other samples over here as well, and the effect of chalk, it makes such a difference. It adds such a depth to those die cuts and punch shapes.
Those are fun. Thank you. Well, Julie, let's find Beth for one last look at simplicity in scrapbooking.
Julie, Michelle, and Beth are sitting at a table.
When I think of simple, I think of gadgets that make scrapbooking easier. We all have a fabulous find from one of our shopping sprees.
Well, I found a really fun thing. It's like a shoehorn, but it's a sheet horn. And you know how hard it is to get your page in, the page protector sometimes?
Especially when you have all those embellishments and everything on it.
Slip this in, and then you can easily slip your page in, and then you pull that out.
So it opens it up?
Yes.
That's really cool. Well, you know, I like the old-fashioned look, and part of an old-fashioned photograph is the decal edge, and there's lots of different ways of achieving a decal edge. But I found this little ruler, and actually there are two ways. You can actually use it dry and just pull the paper up.
That is neat.
Or you can wet the back of the paper and do it, and there are other shape templates too, so it's kind of cool.
That's
I like
great.
that.
And I have an example of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that, you know, you can actually put 5 photographs on with these little flip pages here.
That is so fun.
photo flipping here, and I got these cute pages all on one trip, all on one page.
Yeah, little flip pockets.
That's right.
Those are really great.
I really like that. These are all wonderful supplies. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at scrapbookmemoriestv.com. Let us know the topics and questions you'd like us to cover in upcoming shows.
And we hope you'll be back to create some new memories with us next time on Scrapbook Memories.
Scrapbook Memories is made possible in part by Fiskars Consumer Products Incorporated. Pursue your passions. Memories Expo for scrapbookers and stampers. Kodak, maker of the Kodak Picture Maker. Share moments, share life. Michelle Gerbrandt appears courtesy of Memory Makers Magazine, a national publication dedicated to creative scrapbooking. Epson America Incorporated, printers, scanners, and papers to create your own photos and ready-to-print scrapbook layouts and artwork. Sandra Joseph appears courtesy of Memories Community for scrapbookers and stampers.
Funding is also provided by Hot Off the Press, Provo Craft, and Xyron Incorporated.
For more information and instructions for today's projects, visit us on the web at scrapbookmemoriestv.com. Today's show is number 201.
The credits read in part hosts Michelle Gerbrandt, Beth Madlin, Julie McGuffey, executive producer Catherine Stahl, directors Danny Demyan and Stuart Ryan, assistant director Sherry Sorio, editor Sherry Sorio, audio Bill McKinney, cameras Ryan Pollock and Tom Reardon. Copyright 2002, KS Incorporated.
To receive the Scrapbook Memories Embellishment Treasure Bag with favorite embellishments from the program, including brads, eyelets, gemstones, wire, stickers, and more, send $10 plus $3 shipping and handling to Scrapbook Memories, P.O. Box 391698, Solon, Ohio 44139.
KS Incorporated, Creative Television, Creative Marketing. Funding for description provided by a grant from the U.S. Department of Education.